When I started abstract painting, I made a lot of mistakes that left me frustrated and stuck. If I had known these 3 things back then, I would have saved myself a ton of time. In this video, I'm sharing the 3 biggest lessons I've learned so you can skip the frustration and create paintings you're proud of. Hi there, I'm Janine. I'm an artist and I share my creative journey on this channel. There are 3 things that I think are so helpful to know when you're painting intuitive abstracts. First, composition is the key to a strong abstract painting. I always knew composition was important, but I didn't realize it was probably the most important thing in abstract painting. And the real challenge then was figuring out how to apply it while still painting intuitively. At first I thought composition was about rigid rules, the rule of thirds, golden ratios, pre-planned structures, but that didn't fit with the way I wanted to paint. I loved the freedom of intuitive painting, and I didn't want to box myself in with those traditional composition rules. But then I kept having the same problem. Some paintings just weren't working, no matter how much I layered. They still felt unfinished and chaotic. Until I realized I didn't need to force my process into rigid rules. I needed a way to refine it. The key was using composition as a flexible tool, not a restriction. I learned how to step back, assess, and adjust what was already in the painting, making small intentional changes that helped my painting come together without losing the intuitive freedom. Let me show you what I mean.
I've done quite a lot of intuitive painting on this painting behind me, and now I'm at a point where I like all the energy and colours that are happening, but I need to step back and assess the composition that's emerged from that intuitive painting process. So I'm basically looking at, if I want to look at my composition, I need to look at the values. So I have a lot of dark, it's overall quite light, but there's a lot of dark here. I think that's a bit too dominant. And then this is also darker. So either I need to introduce some darker shape somewhere else, because everything's kind of centered around this central area, or I need to maybe make this dark a bit lighter so it's not as noticeable. And I think I'm going to do that because I feel like I like the lightness and I feel like that's too dark. So I'm going to add a thin layer over this dark area of a lighter colour. Should have used a bigger brush probably. In fact, let's do that. I'm going to use this bigger brush. And then I think this is also too much. I'm just switching to this light blue colour that I've already got on here. So it's not as dominant now. And I think I could maybe make this bit a little bit darker, a bit more like this colour. Not quite as dark, but then this is more of a larger darkish shape, more like this kind of value. And then a good way to check your values is take your phone and take a picture of your painting. This one seems quite dark. It's not very accurate, obviously, but then what you do is you go to the settings and turn the picture, go to saturation, and then turn that all the way down, and that takes out all the color and makes it black and white. And you can easily see the values where it's dark. So you see there it's quite dark, and there it's not as dark anymore. But interestingly, this is actually the darkest value, and I quite like that. And then I also want a little bit down here, so my eye can go down here as well. So I'm just adding a bit of yellow something. It's probably not ideal. Actually, in fact, I'm going to take some of this off again. I feel like the colour's probably not right because now all the yellow's over here, in which case I'm going to add a bit of yellow here. That's already improved the composition, even though it's not finished, but it looks much better than it did before with that heavy dark area.
Number 2, the messy middle is part of the process. Whenever I got to the messy middle stage, I was convinced that I'd ruined my painting and I'd gone too far. But I hadn't actually gone far enough. Every painting goes through this stage. The messy middle isn't a mistake, it's just part of the process. At the beginning of a painting, everything feels exciting. You're making marks, layering colors, and exploring freely. But then suddenly, it all looks a bit off. Nothing works together, and you don't know what to do next. This is where a lot of artists either stop too soon or keep layering aimlessly, hoping the painting will somehow fix itself. But the messy middle isn't the end, it's just the turning point. Instead of seeing it as a problem, see it as an opportunity to step back, assess, and make intentional choices. You can get out of the messy middle by checking a few things. Does my eye have a clear path to follow? Is there enough contrast and variety? Does the painting feel balanced, or is something distracting? When you step back to assess your painting, you can respond to what's on the canvas and move it forward with intention.
This painting is now what I would call in the messy middle stage. So there's a lot of chaos basically. And there's a lot of things I like about it, but I definitely need to assess what I've got here. First I'm going to look at, does my eye have a clear path to follow? And I basically start up here, that's where it goes first, and then I go down there and then back out of the painting. And I don't really go up there, a little bit down here because I've got a darker value there. And then is there enough contrast and variety? So I think everything is looking quite textured, equally textured. There's no larger area that's calmer, because even this is sort of one value, but there's a lot of texture within that, and same here. And then does the painting feel balanced, or is there something that's distracting me? I think at the moment, because my eye goes this way, this is very heavy, and it does go here a little bit, but it needs to be balanced up here. So let's try and do some of that. First, maybe I'll put something here, a little bit more solid. Oh, that's a bit heavier, and taking the eye here. And then also I think because this is so heavy, I'll make it a bit lighter possibly, and also maybe a bit calmer. Let's try that. And I think I'll get rid of some of this here, make that lighter, so it's not coming as far over here. And then I think I want to, this I find is a little bit distracting, so I want to get rid of some of that. And then when you're working on a painting in this more thinky way, more analytical way, that you always have to consider that the acrylic paint dries a little bit darker than it looks when it's wet. So often you have to do a few adjustments and then let it dry and then look at it again.
Number 3, taking risks improves your paintings. For a long time I played it safe with my paintings. I didn't want to ruin what I'd already done, so I was always worried to make drastic changes. But I've learned that some of my best paintings happened because I took a risk, like painting over most of what seemed to be a fine painting. It's easy to get attached to parts of a painting that you like, even when the whole piece isn't working. You don't want to mess up your painting, so you make small, careful adjustments instead of the bold changes that could actually transform it for the better. I still sometimes catch myself inching forward rather than just taking the big leap. But if the painting already feels stuck, then playing it safe isn't going to fix it. Instead, take a big brush with lots of paint and don't think about it. Just make a bold, unexpected mark on your painting and see how it transforms it. It usually doesn't instantly turn your painting into a masterpiece straight away, but it gives you something to respond to and takes you out of that analysis paralysis. And the more you practice taking risks in your art, the easier it will get.
So this painting, it does have a composition that's not too bad, but it's not really working. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to make a really, really bold move without thinking. And a good way to do that is to take a large tool or a very different color to what's already there. And then that prompts you to respond to that. Let me show you what I mean. I'm not going to use a big tool this time. I'm going to use a color and something that's not in here. Maybe this blue, got this pre-mixed blue, and that's not in the painting yet. And then I'm just going to take quite a lot of paint, and I'm doing this intuitively. My intuition is leading the way here. So I'm just going to...
If you like this video, consider subscribing.
do a bit more paint on here. And now it looks completely different. Probably not in a good way, but what this has done is it's completely changed the composition. All the values are in different places now. The shapes are different, like this shape of a dark value that's now the same as this. And that means I'm going to have to go back in and respond to that. And it's not stuck anymore. I got the wheels moving again, and I'm going to have to go in and maybe make this shape larger again, or maybe I'll make this shape larger and connect it to this one.
These three things completely changed how I approach abstract painting. Once I started embracing composition, working through the messy middle, and taking bold risks, my paintings became stronger and the process became so much more enjoyable. If you're struggling with these mistakes, my free live class this Tuesday will help. I'll walk you through a step-by-step method to take your paintings from messy to intentional, so you can create work you're proud of. Click the link in the description to save your spot now, and I'd love to see you there. Thanks and bye bye.